Man, so I'll tell you what, when I get to the shop and this side is empty, that's really symbolic for me because I know that means the last project is wrapped up, the new project is about to come in here. So what we're about to pull in is the 04 GTO because we got to get the motor out, we got to get everything settled because all of that stuff, as you know, or as you should know, will eventually be going in old Betty White right there.
And now, you're watching the project that can only be described as Caitlyn Jenner going back to Bruce Jenner channel of YouTube. Welcome to Bodie Vision.
Since I'm about to be underneath the car, in the hood, everywhere, I didn't want it to get too hot, so I shut it off right away. But anyways, hey, so what is up and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another video. The Subaru, the GC8, Taylor's gonna come pick it up mid this coming week or mid this week right now. So that video will be coming real soon. That'll be the done video for the GC8. I'll show you everything in its entirety. The entire GC8 back together. You'll see how good it looks or how good I think it looks. But besides the GC8, this is the GTO 5.7 liter LS1. I think the only thing to do is we just got to go ahead and get busy, and then maybe in a little bit I'll tell you kind of some of my thinking with this car and how the whole entire swap is going to work out. And there's just so much more to come. I'm so hyped for this. So one thing for me on a project like this, or any project that I'm not extremely familiar with, you know, I've never pulled an LS out of a GTO before. I'm just taking my time, I'm labeling everything as I go. For example, just the way that the expansion tank is laid out, any wiring, anything. I'm just getting everything separated from the motor. And now I want to kind of get to the radiator, drain out all the coolant, and I'd prefer to do that outside of the shop. In this area, I can just rinse it off. I don't want all of that getting all over my floor because I like to try to keep everything as clean as possible. So just little things like that help my production and help my workflow as I'm doing a project. Staying organized, thinking about fluids, not getting the floor all dirty because I know I'm going to be laying all under there. So I don't want to get that area dirty. Out here can be dirty and then the rain will wash it away, but I'm also still going to try to capture as much as I possibly can. So at this point, I think I'm just about ready to go. Now the header on the driver's side, that's intertwined with the actual steering column, and I'm hoping that I could just push that off to the side, and then I have the other one off, and hopefully that gives me enough room to pull the motor. So now I gotta go ahead and hook up the engine. I wanna put something underneath the transmission, and my goal is to pull everything out together. Or if anything, I'll just separate the motor and trans, and I'll pull out the motor and then the trans separate. But hopefully I can get it all in one rip, and man, it's pretty crazy out here. I'm so used to just working on sanding and painting and body work. It's kind of therapeutic to just work on a car, take things off, go on to the next one and keep it moving. And I'm enjoying myself on this one thus far. boom, man, here we go. I'll tell you what, that's a big girl. I don't know if it was the right call to try to pull it out motor and trans, but what I do know is it's out now, everything is all good, and it got a little wild. Now you couldn't tell in the time lapse because it was a time lapse. It doesn't record audio, or it just records as the time lapse. It's not footage sped up. I actually record it in time lapse mode. But anyways, this thing started tweaking out. The motor was halfway out. I couldn't get the jack up any higher just because of how big this motor is, how high I have the car up. Maybe that's my mistake, but I needed to be under the car anyways. So like I was saying, the motor started to creak a little bit. That thing started to tweak a little bit, creaking, tweaking. I didn't want to risk dropping the motor, and I really felt like I might have. So worst came to worst, I just decided to sawzall the front radiator support. Now, this entire car is going to be parted out anyways. I'm going to sell the fenders. Even the rear quarters are probably going to get cut up. The headliner, the dash, the mirrors, the doors, everything is going to be sold separate. So it's not really a big deal, and that's not what I wanted to do. But the worst case scenario would have been to drop the motor, and that was definitely the right call. I do not regret it whatsoever. So since this video thus far is as short as it is, I'm going to go ahead and bring this into tomorrow morning. Alrighty, and just like that, this is actually the next day, and now it is 2 o'clock. See, when I got here, I just kind of started to clean up. I wanted to get stuff a little bit organized. It's so important for me to just kind of stop and regroup and clean up everything, put all the tools away, and like I was saying earlier, staying organized is key. So we got the motor right here. I just put it on the cart so that way I could work on it. And then the car right here. Got to get the steering column out, got to get that subframe out. See, the idea is, if you can see right here, the subframe bolt right there, and that's actually right up there. And then there's another bolt right there that goes to the subframe. So 1, 2, then over here the same thing, 3 and 4. I need to make this subframe mount up into the Accord, and that's going to be the hardest part of this process. But after that, the motor's just going to sit there on that mount, there on that mount, and on a transmission mount, and that's how it's going to sit in the Accord. So there's really no mounts to figure out. I just got to mount in that subframe, and then the steering rack and everything is all right there. Goes up to the steering column, which will be the Accord column that I'm going to adapt to work with this steering rack. And then we got a sway bar and everything, so it's all self-contained on the subframe. And that's one of the reasons why I thought this was not going to be extremely difficult, because all I got to do, get this subframe in the Accord, and we're good to go as far as the motor, steering, suspension, everything. Now, as far as what's next for the rest of the day and the rest of this video, I actually got to take a couple of hours to finish up on the Subaru, the GC8. That'll be within next video, because I want to keep what I'm doing within one video. Even though I'm working on 2 different things throughout the day, I don't want to stuff a whole bunch of that in this video. So as soon as I'm done working on the GC8 for today, we'll pick back up on what's next on the GTO, Accord, motor, whatever we have next. So we got the harness stripped off, and the reason why I wanted to take off the harness is because, well, there's 2 reasons. One, I might eventually build a custom harness or just completely rework the factory harness that's there, or get a standalone harness. I'm not too sure yet. But I do know that I want to go ahead and refresh the motor. I'm going to pull off the intake manifold, pull off the heads, do new head gaskets, do new everything. I just want to make sure this motor is nice and good and fresh. And also I got the Subaru wrapped up, so Taylor Ray's going to be here tomorrow, and that'll just be the next video that you see. And speaking of Taylor, I just texted him and I told him, hey look man, I'm going to be putting this LS into my Accord. I want to have fun with it. I don't want to do like drift abuse. I'm not going to go full-blown crazy, but I want to do a mild build so that way it's going to hold up. And he said that he'll get me everything that I need, all the parts that I could ever want, as far as he'll tell me which parts I need. He's not going to give me the actual parts. So that's huge, that's great, because I'm going to want to refresh it, because I'm going to want to at least do a couple of burnouts. So now as we're coming to the end of the day, the last thing that I want to do, I want to get the car moved back in. But before I can do that, as you can see, the drive shaft is hanging down as I pushed the car out this morning. as I pushed the car out this morning, the drive shaft was just going everywhere, and I should have known that. So I'm gonna get that pulled off, and then we'll see what's going on next, and I'll give you an update for what I'm gonna be doing in the next video. Some of my mindset. I know we kind of just dove right on into this, and if this is the first video that you've ever seen of me, my last video kind of goes into a little bit more detail of what I'm doing and why I'm doing this, the whole LS swapped Accord thing. Everything looks good. So, one thing, well, a couple of different things. I need to do some research, or if anybody knows what the best thing to do would be. See, this is a two-piece drive shaft, meaning it has like this other piece in the middle of it. And I'm pretty sure I know that's there because it's gonna make a better ride quality, make the car a little bit more comfortable, just everything. More rubber, more bushings makes for a better quality, but how necessary is that to go into my Accord? If I just want a one-piece drive shaft, is that okay? I kind of want to look into it a little bit. Also, I know people do swap one-piece drive shafts into their GTOs. So maybe I'll do a little bit of research, or maybe one of you guys know. So on the next video on the LS swapped Accord, we're either going to be rebuilding that motor, because I'm going to get that whole build list of everything, or if none of that stuff is coming in, we'll turn our attentions to the subframe. But what my thinking was, I just want to work on the motor because the car can still move. As soon as I take the subframes out, this thing's going to be a pain to move. So it's going to just kind of save that for the end. And as far as the Accord, I don't want to tear that down until every single thing is ready for it. So that way I only have to have that down as little as possible, because I still legitimately drive that car every single day. And this is kind of scary. This is kind of fun. I am definitely looking forward to it. Great progress for the first video. I hope you're as hyped as I am. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like this video, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know what it is, YouTube. I'll see you on the next one, wrapping up the GT8. Then we'll be back to this. I'm out.